Well, welcome to the new location, the first video in the new location that is not even properly set up yet. I haven't even scraped all the blue tack off. So today we've been given an XRF machine to look at that's apparently not working. The gold buyers that I sell a lot of my precious metals to said this is their favorite one. They have a couple of others, but this one is not working for some reason. I've offered to have a look at it. This could be expensive, it might not be. But it sounds like the X-ray tube's not working. So the guys over at Radiacode have sent me several different models of their units over time. So I think this is probably the perfect job for the Radiacode 0, which is their high level meter. We'll be able to put this inside here and see if it registers anything. Now I have the Radiacode 110 here, which is quite sensitive. I also have a Radiacode 103, but I have the Radiacode 0 here. This one survived being under an X-ray machine, so I think it's probably the one to put under here. I don't know how to open this yet. I need to do a little bit of investigating. Now, this appears to be an Olympus XRF machine. Now, I should point out, I don't do a lot with XRF machines, so my knowledge base is weak on this, but we're going to see if it's a simple fix. I have a power supply there, which I think is just a little laptop supply. But we're going to see if it actually puts out any X-rays first. Now my usual filming tripod is still currently packed. I've just recently moved house. But what we're going to do here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go and we're going to just check what the accumulation is on this. I've got micro sieverts per hour. We're going to leave our 110 outside in case there's any leakage. And we're going to put our 110 inside, which I think there's a latch here to hold up. We're going to put a Radiacode 0 right over the little, let's have a look here. There is over here a little aperture that I guess is where the X-rays come out. We're going to sit this over here. We might plonk it sideways so we can actually see it with the lid shut. We're going to latch you down. Now, we're going to run the test supply, which is on that one. We'll see if we turn on. Let's have an on button. Do we turn on at all? We don't appear to turn on. We do have power on that. I'm not sure how to turn this on yet. So straight off the bat, it looks like we might not have power. Now this is on. This is an 18 volt power supply. What it says here for Olympus is it is 18 volts, 3.5 amp, or 3.9 amp. That's a fair bit of power. So let's continue to investigate. Okay, so somewhere along the lines it actually just fired up. I think I had to push and hold that. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so we're going to go start. Oh, it's got a touchscreen. Cool. So there's an administrator login for this. So we need it's obviously meant to work with a stylus. Crap. Let me see if I can find one. They didn't provide password at all, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Incorrect password. Okay, that's a familiar sound. 3, 4. Okay, let's try all zeros. Alright, 6 zeros. Alright, this is going to be interesting. So, I can just cancel it. Interesting. Let's see. This is obviously Windows CE on here. I'm going to have to play around for a bit. Alright, so a quick little cursory search says 1776. No. Okay. Okay, so it didn't need the password. I was able to get around that. And then I loaded up Delta Tools, which wouldn't run until I set the date and time. Not sure how it knew about that. This software can render a unit inoperable, unauthorized use to avoid the warranty. This sounds like something's kind of not right, but let's have a quick look. Let's see if this does our job here. Oh, I put 5 microamps into it. Failed to turn on tube. Okay, that's kind of what we thought might be the case. The tube might not be functional. Alright, so looking at this, it's looking like the power supply voltage is a bit weird here. things are looking possibly like the filament's gone in the tube, which wouldn't be unlikely. What is probably slightly less likely is the high voltage for the filament. That little driver board's not working. So either way, I think quite likely tube's shot. Alright, so I'm going to shut this down for the moment, and it could be the tube filament. It could also be the HV supply to the tube. Pretty much the two things that are really going to stop the show. There is about 3 microamps through the filament, so I wonder if that's a bit of interference or if the filament is open circuit. Now I noticed something. The top of this is very wriggly. Somebody might have had this open before me. It's not surprising, it's apparently been here for a while. But there's some Torx tamper-proof here and a big warning sticker. I also noticed that this is still lit even though things are unplugged. So let's try and get it to use some power. Has this thing got a battery in it? That's worrying. And no, it just turned off. So it just got very big capacitors. So we might have a quick look under here. It's the warning high voltage side of things. Definitely don't do this if you don't know what you're doing. Shockingly, I'm about a week having moved into the new place, and I managed to find my Torx tamper-proof bits. I'm going to guess a T25. Okay, it was a T15. Let's open this carefully, because these are expensive critters, and the rubber feet are in the way. Alright, time for the LRF removal. This should come off now. Careful we don't snag anything. So there's nothing on there. That is a thick plate. I guess we're dealing with stuff like that. So this is an X-ray tube. This device produces X-rays when energized. We've got that. Not a fixed source machine. Nope, we're not anything crazy going on in there. These are interlock switches. Of course, if these are not depressed, it won't fire up. Sensible. Here is a little USB lead here, just sitting on top of the high tension board. That whenever I open things like this, I find it's decidedly jank. This here is not rated to deal with high voltage arcing, and yet it's sitting right on top of the X-ray tube. I like the ribbon cable though. I'm going to have a look. Alright, so just in the process of disconnecting this to see if I can actually take the cover off this can and physically have a look to see if the filament's gone. And this whole unit here is loose. I'd almost say somebody has actually taken some screws out of the top of it somewhere to try and get this thing out, because I can't imagine that is a normal arrangement. And I do see a pin up the top there somewhere. So we're going to have a little bit of a closer look at this. Yeah, I was right. Somebody's been here before me. They've taken 2 screws out of here. So I have tried to remove the unit. Alright, so I think I've discovered something very telling here. I think this has been dropped, which would probably kill an X-ray tube. That's, yeah, I didn't get told that. Okay, upon removing the other side, the gas strut is missing on the other side. There's quite a few screws missing from this. So yeah, I'm not the first person to have been in here. Alright, so I'm seeing the fan grill in here is what's stopping that from lifting up. So I'm going to take that out. Alright, I've taken the fan grill out. Now, I note that there are a whole bunch of ribbon cables connected here. We're not going to remove it out, we just want to see if it will lift up. That will lift up, okay. So now we just check what's connected and we disconnect just the bits we need. Now I noticed something I didn't disconnect. This guy here would certainly stop the high voltage from engaging. So yeah, interesting. But these are all looking good. The high voltage circuit doesn't look like it's a crook. Alright, so I've carefully lifted some tubes off here, some screws off the top of the tube. Let's take the cap off here. Now obviously a big block of shielding. This is all in resin coating, so actually I'm not going to be able to take a look at the filament in here at all. So that's a bit of a bust. That would potentially protect the tube from some shock loading. But I was hoping to get a good look at the actual tube itself. Might not happen. There are 4 screws in the corner, but I think it's all resin filled in. So I think this unit as a whole is how they come. So I don't think we can just replace that section there. It's going to have to be the whole thing, which at this point we're going to have to talk to the manufacturers, which this is basically the entire unit. The rest is just a body there. So I'd wager they want nearly the money of a new unit for this. But it's interesting. I'm going to put it back together exactly as I had it. That's sad day. I can't see. That is like a rubbery coating. Now, I've just put this back together. I've put all the connectors on and everything. I had a bit of a thought. Now, if one side's broken, this is a safety interlock switch. So if any of the sides are off, or any of these switches, they're all in a series loop. You can kind of see the series connection here. If that is out because this side's pushed out a bit, the whole thing won't fire up, or it won't allow you to turn the tube on at least. That could be our problem. So I guess we'll just reassemble, we'll test. I'm fairly sure I've got all the connections in here. The connections are keyed and are set up such that you can't get the wrong one in the wrong hole. And these are all gone in nicely. These are all standard ribbons. I've put the USB back. This is another USB cable by the look of it. And I've reconnected this. So this definitely would have stopped the high voltage circuit, which is on this board here, from firing up and running the tube. So that could have been a problem. Alright, we have it reassembled. And there was 2 missing screws in here. So I've put 1 screw in that side, 1 screw in that side, in the hope that the those lockout switches are both depressed. It's still in a bit of a poor shape. And yes, now I'm looking at it, I do notice there's only 1 gas strut. And that explains why the door felt a bit flimsy. I also noticed there's a couple of USB ports on the side here. There's a mini B and just a standard USB-A port. I'm going to fire up the Radiacode 0 again. And we'll stick it in here. And see what we can do. Something different happened. I just fired this up and the LED lights in there turned on. That's something that didn't happen before. We're getting a different set of readings now. We're looking at the Peltier voltage is high. That's okay. We're going to see if it tries to do anything with this. This one usually tried. We couldn't get the tube last time. Oh, we had it. Oh, there we go. There we go. She's working. We got some results. It's alive. All right. And it's actually doing a test now. Yep. Well, Radiacode 0 is doing its job. Alright, so this is doing quite a lengthy test here. And it's reading at about, let's have a good look in here. Can we read through to this? About 5 or 8 microsieverts per hour, something along those lines. A bit hard to tell through the dirty window. What I do want to do here is check for leakage around here. We're getting a little bit along the back here and around the gaps. Not much. Oh, whoa. Okay. So around the side here, she's throwing off some X-rays off the side here. Alright, so there is a bit of leakage where it was broken. Oh, she's 380 microsieverts now. Whoa! She's definitely a bit nuts now. That's a scary amount of radiation in there. Oh, it just hit nearly 5 millisieverts. Now, just so you know, this glass is actually blocking all of that. That's pretty cool. That's some pretty scary amounts of X-ray energy in there. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are not spewing out X-rays out of random parts of it, even underneath. One thing that really scares me is handheld XRF machines where people just put it against material. and they test things on the desk and don't realize their legs are down here. That's the bit that scares me. This is clearly going through some different tests now. So this looks like it's going filter 5, 10 kV and 5 microamp. This should be a little bit lower energy level. The Radiacode 0 is not happy right at the moment. The alarm's going off. I'm not about to open that lid until it's finished. Though, if you were to pop this, there's an Interlocks switch. It would shut down immediately. But, good to know the tube works. Okay, a few minutes later, it's just about to finish the tests. It's obviously outside the spectrum that the... it's just finished now. It's obviously outside the spectrum at 10 kV that the Radiacode 0 picks up. That's interesting. I will make note of that. But, confirmed, the machine is actually working now. I don't know without the password if we can actually make it do an actual XRF test, but I'm going to work on this. What I do need to do though is rescue my poor Radiacode 0 and see what the dose is on this. Okay, let's cancel the alarm. Let's go to dose. 7.41 millisieverts for the time it ran the test. That is a scary amount of radiation. Alright, so that's as far as I can go for the moment. This was just going to be a quick test and see what I could do with it, and I got a little bit carried away. It's been about 2 hours now. I'll give them a call in the morning, tell them the good news that the tube works. I can't say anything for the beam alignment or anything, but they might give me the password and we might be able to see if it will actually XRF something that we know what it is. Anyway, I will see you in the morning.